Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit starts out 5-1. What has gone right and what still needs improving?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty, NHL season is 2 weeks old as of Tuesday. Red Wings officially didn't start till Thursday, but the season itself is 2 weeks old. And the Red Wings starting hot, 5-1, beating five very strong teams, some of the stronger teams in the NHL as a whole. And a lot has gone well. We're going to kind of give the fan base our early reactions to the season on what those things that have gone well are, as well as a couple of things. Not a lot that you can break down and say that this team could be doing better, but we'll find a couple of things to nitpick. It's not a good show if you don't nitpick a thing or two here or there. And then, of course, we'll update you on the Patrick Kane situation as he is hurt. And then that'll parlay us right into previewing the Buffalo Sabres here on Wednesday. So, before we get to any of that, I got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Scotty, I've said it 1,000 times already. Red Wings 5-1 on the season, beating Toronto twice, beating Tampa Bay, beating Florida, and beating Edmonton. A couple of those guys, a couple of those teams, Stanley Cup contending teams, others just playoff teams, regular season juggernauts. Only loss coming to quick riser Montreal Canadiens last year who made the playoffs. What has gone well? What's at the top of your mental list of what's going right for Detroit right now in your early reactions?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot, which is great news,
Right.
Obviously, right? Just like off the bat, the fact that there is going to be way more good than bad is, we're 6 games in, but that's still something to celebrate. So tip of the cap to really everybody for that and just for the start in general. 5-game winning streak, a lot going right. I think before we get into maybe individual players that are doing well or lines that are doing well or anything like that, it would be, in my eyes, impossible to start off this conversation without continuing to give this system its flowers. And I think that is probably at the very top of my list. This was something in the preseason. We saw a very aggressive but successful forecheck throughout the preseason, and we were like, that could be something that maybe is implemented in the regular season. And if that is going to be the style of play, hopefully it leads to a lot better 5-on-5 play, because this team has been terrible at 5-on-5 for the last 5+ years. And so I think that especially after opening night, when you have the aggressive forecheck, but the back door gets left open a lot in that game, and they make a lot of mistakes, and they ultimately lose. It has been such a refreshing brand of hockey to watch this Red Wings team actually win the 5-on-5 battle against not only just other teams, period, because that is honestly was kind of the bar going into the year. Like, if they could just be better at 5-on-5 against literally anybody, that'd be cool. But they are doing this against some of the premier teams in the entire NHL. And so I think that, again, all things considered, we'll talk about plenty of things that have gone right. For me, at the very top, to before you can really talk about anything else, that has to be the first thing mentioned.
Yeah, I have that on my list of things that have gone well, too, is just the coaching staff as a whole has really, not just with the play style they've implemented as a system here in Detroit, but also with just how the coaching staff handles failure, right? You talked about the preseason and how we thought it would carry over the regular season. I mean, how quickly we've forgotten that they laid a dud on the home opener. And McLellan was able to get the team to respond. And they came back against Toronto and played really well. I know they were down 2-0 early, but they were the better team in that night throughout 60 minutes. And then on the third game, where the only game so far this season where they have gotten shelled, they were able to be bailed out by Cam Talbot. So it's reflected in the numbers too, Scotty. They're right now in shot attempt share, they're 14th in the league at 5-on-5 at 51.5%, a number that the last 4 or 5 years has been always beneath 50, if not well beneath 50.
Well
Malone,
below,
yeah, when McLellan took over, I believe this team was 28th in shot attempt share. Their expected goals for, which is taking those shot attempts and then applying like an expected goal value to it, their expected goal percentage right now is 10th, and their expected goals for, the amount of goals they should have based on the advanced numbers, whether or not you put any stock into that, but just to add to this and emphasize this, is 11th. They're 11th in the league in expected goals for at 5-on-5. This does take me, however, to my first what could they be doing better? And I only have a couple, and it's finishing. Because while their expected goals for, Scotty, at 5-on-5 is currently 11th, their actual goals for is ranked 24th, as they have only scored 10 5-on-5 goals. So they're creating a bunch of chances with this great system that they seem to all be gelling with, but they do struggle to finish. And I'm sure anyone who's watched these Red Wings throughout these first 6 games, despite all the wins, as exciting as it's been and how much they've dominated, finishing is a problem. How many 2-on-1s have we seen that result in just a nice save, or even not even getting a shot off, trying to make that extra pass and it not working, or having it completely neutralized, or rebounds created that nobody's there to get to? How many times have we seen that? So again, this is a nitpick. The team's playing really well, but one of the things I do think this team could be doing better through 6 games is finishing their opportunities. It's great to have those opportunities, but as the season goes on and the games are going to get tighter because teams are getting more in game shape, finishing is going to come in clutch, and a lot of that comes from the bottom 6 too.
Yeah, no, that part at the end there, I think is what I was going to focus on. If there is one glaring flaw with the team, it is that so far. But again, you take a little bit of solace just in the fact that they are at least getting opportunities. It is not, they're not scoring goals and they aren't scoring goals because they're not getting shots, right? Which is what the Lalonde era kind of reeked of. Like, this is at least, there's a little bit of, I don't know if reassurance is the right word, but you can take at least, okay, well, if the players are good enough, then the system is going to allow them to be in goal-scoring opportunities. It is just a matter of whether they are good enough in that regard at finishing. So, yeah, I mean, I think the bottom 6 is really the big focus there. There have been a lot of moments in the first 6 games already where we've seen players on the bottom 6 set up really nice for goal-scoring opportunities and then just not come through.
Which is both a boon and a bane. Like, this
right.
is we're seeing the bottom
6 is getting goal-scoring opportunities is fantastic news.
Right. We've seen Andrew Kopp, Michael Rasmussen, Soderblom,
right.
Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, who we know obviously is going to be playing in the top 6 for at least the next 2 games, I would imagine, all have tremendous opportunities to put the puck in the back of the net, and that's huge growth from what we've seen. Mason Appleton and JVR as well, from what we saw last year. Last year, they couldn't produce any offense. Now they're producing offense, and they're not finding the back of the net. So it's still, even as a nitpick, it's still a positive trend for this team going forward. And so while it's something I want to see this team do better, I'm not disheartened by the performance either. Like, it feels like if they continue to do this, they're going to have those clutch goals eventually.
Yeah, the hope is that it's a break the seal situation, right? If you keep applying pressure and you keep applying pressure and you continue getting those opportunities, eventually the goals will follow. It's just a matter of actually seeing that.
Correct. Scotty, let's do a quick break here, and when we return, we'll talk about a couple other things that stand out to us 6 games in, and then we'll move on to a Kane update and game preview of the Buffalo Sabres. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to tell you guys today about Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why you got to start using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface, on your laptop or your phone. It's going to help you organize your accounts, track your spending, and get a better handle on your investments without having to touch a single spreadsheet. You're going to love how it can review everything with your partner, see your shared goals, and even make financial decisions easier together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it much easier to understand where your money is going and how to make it work harder for you. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Also got to talk to you guys today about Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. You've probably heard them before. It's stress, you're tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little something extra. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes getting started simple. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette. Stop making excuses and start making moves. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, we've both kind of brought a reason the Wings have playing well that we feel, and a reason or something that we think they can be doing better early here in the season. What's another thing that stood out to you through 6 games?
Well, I want to continue, I guess, if we just go back and forth to focus on the positives. Obviously, again, the goal scoring or the goal opportunities from the bottom 6 is a good thing. But I think another really glaring win so far has been, going into the season, the big talk was who is going to be top line wing and what is the top line going to look like. And I think we're a far ways away from just declaring, like Finney, the long-term answer at top line for, the next 4 or 5 years or whatever. However, I think that so far through 6 games, that problem has at least been addressed, and there is at least a short-term solution. The world is not going to end. The Red Wings can win hockey games with Finney as top-line wing. And again, that doesn't mean that like he's going to win a Hart or that it's that he is the top-line wing for the next 10 years. But it does mean that going forward, at least right now, you are comfortable and confident with him in that role. And I think that that's something that if you would have asked me even just a month ago, if I was going to be this confident in how the top 6 at full health looked, I probably wouldn't have been. So I think that even if it is a smaller win, is a win.
Yeah, and I mean, you could extrapolate that out and just talk about the youth in general, right? Obviously, Emmett Finney, last I had checked, now there's been a game or two, right, since the statistic came out, but after the Edmonton game, Emmett Finney was tied for first amongst rookies in points. 5 points in 6 games. Obviously, 3 of those came in the game against Edmonton, in which he scored his first and second career goals. But he's a plug-and-play guy. He can put him anywhere in the lineup. And his speed, his pace, which I guess is the same thing as speed, but his physicality, the way he plays the game the right way on both sides of the puck and goes to the net, is going to be the type of style that is going to benefit any line that he's on. And so if he's playing with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond, he's going to get a lot of points. But I think if you put him down there in the bottom 6 with like Andrew Copp, not saying they will, but just as an example, and ask him to play a matchup role, I think he's going to excel at that as well. So while I don't know still what his ceiling in the NHL is, I don't think it's a stretch to say that he can't be, he can't continue to play in this role for at least an extended period of time. I mean, we were talking about, the carousel of players, and there still likely will be a couple players getting shots in that top line role as the season goes on. But right now it's all Emmett Finney. And then you go down the lineup, Michael brandsegg-nygard, you might not have a single point yet, but it feels like a matter of time. He's making impactful plays in both ends of the ice. Another guy who plays a heavy game, gets to the net, rips shots, is not afraid to get in the corners in both sides of the ice. He feels due, and especially now that Patrick Kane's injured, he's going to continue to get a look in that top six where I thought he looked good against Edmonton. He gives that second line a little bit of a different dynamic. Obviously, I'll repeat it, having both Patrick Kane and MBN is better than having just one of those two guys. But in Patrick Kane's absence, MBN has a tremendous opportunity to really cement himself as, more of a point producer, because he's been playing on a much more of a shutdown line up until now. So I'm really excited for MBN. And we talked yesterday about how the rise of ASP has really risen the floor of this defensive core, because putting him on the second pair and having the balls to assign him the difficulty of deployment that you already have with Simon Edvinsson, putting him also on the PK and having him perform so well has gone a long way. And again, there'll be struggles with all three of these guys. It's a long NHL season. They're going to hit bumps in the road. But so far, especially on defense, it's given you that flexibility of putting Johansson down on the third pair, and JBD's been incredible since he's come. And granted, JBD and Johansson play a much more sheltered role than the other two defensive pairs, a lot of offensive zone deployments, but they synergize really well in that role. And it just gives you a confidence in your defense that's showing analytically as well. And part of that, again, is the style of game that they play. But the youth as a whole, we talked before the season about how they raise the ceiling for this team, but maybe lower the floor. Well, so far, all we've seen is both of those things get risen. Both the floor and the ceiling so far have risen because these players add speed, they add youth, they add a ripple effect. They add depth to your lineup that you did not have before. Again, they're rookies. The NHL season is long. Eventually they'll hit a snag, and maybe their production, at least, if they're not talking point production, but maybe their impacts on the ice will lessen to an extent. But through 6 games, they are probably, if not 1A, 1B as to why this team is playing so well, if not directly, indirectly.
Right. If not directly, indirectly, of course. Yeah. No, I agree with you, though. I think that it is so much bigger than just, they're rookies and they're playing well. It also, as you mentioned there, the most important thing it's improved is the depth. And I pointed at this earlier in the week. I mean, you focused a lot on the offensive lines there. I actually think the area it's improved the depth the most is the blue line. And just the fact that, again, there was a massive question mark about how thin this blue line was going into the year. You kind of have Seider, you have Edvinsson on the second pair, and outside of that, it's a little bit of a toss-up. Well, Seider and Sherratt are manning the top pair really well. And then now Edvinsson and ASP are playing really well together, and that allows for an improved third pair as well with Aljo and then whatever kind of the revolving door is that night. So I really think, it's hard to put all of that on, 3 rookies. I don't want to say that they're single-handedly why we're here or anything like that, but they have played well enough to justify difficult, relatively speaking, deployments and I guess better wording is they have earned the right to play in a lot of different situations, and they have the trust of the coaching staff already to play in a lot of different situations. And that has led the Red Wings to, be where they are. And again, increase depth directly, but indirectly, as you said.
And what we were talking about yesterday, right? We had asked the question, is the Red Wings defense good? And a lot of it has to do with, of course, ASP, but also the arrival of JBD, who so far through 5 games that he's played, again, albeit in sheltered minutes, has looked good. He is kind of what we were hoping he would be when they signed him. Took the flyer on the young guy that hasn't really been given a fair shot in the lineup elsewhere and see what he can do. And I think he's been what we had hoped for. He's not a superstar, but he's been stable with Albert Johansson back there on the third pair. So, as much as ASP adds flexibility and depth, JBD has given us a much higher ceiling so far through 5. And again, early returns. This is what this episode is. It's early returns. This could change on a dime. But through 6 games, JBD's helped stabilize that third pair along with Johansson, making it so we don't have a carousel of Hall, Hamonic, and Gustafsson down there.
Right.
So I want to shout out the defense too, because it's been, and I got a lot of it's combination of the play style of the team as a whole now, but so many little improvements that we've seen so early here has been really nice to see. Scotty, we got to head to another break. I still got more to talk about, like at least 2 more things, maybe 3. So it's going to be probably an abbreviated preview. Stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play. You can build parlays, try player props, and even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, I'll just go right into the next one. We've kind of talked about the vets, right? Not directly, but just talking about how the bottom 6 is playing a lot better. I think Kops, despite the lack of points, had a pretty strong start to the season. He's one game where I think he was underperforming. JVR and Appleton have been nice adds, but no vet has had a bigger impact the start of the season than, of course, Dylan Larkin. 11 points through 6 games. He is starting hot again.
Great defensively, too, man.
Of course, as always. And we don't have to go through it all again because we talked about it a little bit yesterday, right? Or the day before with Dylan Larkin. He was named the number 1 player of the week. NHL, they did the 3 stars. He was the first star. He has been clutch for the Red Wings in the top 6, in which, you've lost Raymond for a few games. Now you're losing Kane for a few days. DeBrincat, well, he's picking up a lot of assists and playing good two-way hockey, hasn't found the net yet. And so, well, I think a lot of the vets, including Moritz Seider, have been fantastic to start the season. None have been as impactful as Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, completely agree. How weird is it to call Mo Seider a vet?
This is 5th year, dude.
I know, man. Crazy. Him and Raymond both. Larkin's been absolutely sensational. The only thing I have left on maybe areas of concern is just and this was one, like maybe after one game and not as much anymore, but continues to be the usage of both goalies. We don't need to rehash the whole thing. I talked about it at the end of last week and earlier this week, but they really need Gibson to be the 1A. And just to save Talbot's legs and make it so that he can be as productive and be, as you said earlier, his best self throughout the course of 82, right? Like that is the only way that you get the best out of Talbot is if you are getting the best out of Gibson. Like he is kind of the straw that stirs the drink in that. So again, has been a lot better his last 2 outings. Just something that the only other thing I have left on, maybe areas of improvement, that's still one of them.
Yeah, and I think I would have agreed with that if we were doing this after game 4, but they gave Talbot the rest. Gibson came in, played phenomenal against Tampa, and then he was solid again against Edmonton. I know his save percentage would say otherwise, but both those goals he allowed in against Edmonton, he had no chance on. So I think for me, that is, a strength if you remove the outlier of the Edmonton game, the Montreal game rather. But again, that was a complete team breakdown. Not a single player on the Red Wings really had a good game against Montreal. So I'm willing with 5 more games of evidence to be more confident in saying Montreal was the outlier here than it was what we were going to expect going forward. Sure. And again, with all of this, it's been 6 games. We're talking about what we've seen through 6. This can change on a dime. Red Wings can go on a losing streak, and it could all fall apart. But through 6 games, this is just what we're seeing, and it's been very reassuring. For me, the goaltending is one of my strengths because you got a couple of really good games out of Talbot, then you were able to give him a rest, and Gibson was able to come in and be pretty strong for 2. That's reassuring to see. You didn't have to wear Talbot into the ground. So that, for me, is great. Penalty kill, I think that's an obvious one.
100%.
top 10
really,
penalty kill
special
through 6
teams.
games.
Yeah, like special teams in general. But yeah, obviously the PK not being a complete disaster has been a nice change of pace. So
Right.
agreed.
And so we've talked about that. We can move on from there. Penalty kill, obviously a big one. That's a huge win. Top 10 right now. Scotty, Patrick Kane, we heard a little bit more from Todd McLellan today. They asked him about him and said that Patrick Kane would not be taking the trip to Buffalo and would be reevaluated prior to Saturday's home game against St. Louis. But there are 2 games on the trip to Buffalo. It's a back-to-back, I believe, going to Buffalo and the Islanders Wednesday, Thursday. So that means Patrick Kane's out for the next 2 games. We've kind of talked about it a little bit in this episode, but that means NBN will likely be on the second line. He was slotted up there during practice today with Casper and DeBrincat. Yeah, losing Patrick Kane hurts, specifically on your power play, because that guy on the power play he makes the rest of the power play go in a lot of instances.
Legitimately, like an
with his
argument
brain.
for one of the greatest power play weapons to ever live. So yeah,
Right. So that is going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be a storyline to watch for sure. Casper is getting reps on power play 1 in Patrick Kane's stead, so that's kind of exciting. You know, you get another young player getting a look in the top power play.
Yeah.
But obviously, again, going back to what I was saying with Patrick Kane and NBN, I would rather have Patrick Kane on power play 1 and Casper on power play 2 than not have Patrick Kane on power play at all.
For sure, yeah. Obviously, we want Kane back as soon as possible. It wouldn't shock me if they just threw JVR up there again. He's been really good and played on power play 1
good.
when Raymond was out. So
right. And that takes us to a game preview, right? I mean, we're talking about Patrick Kane not playing against Buffalo. The Red Wings end their lengthy homestand 5-1 with 1 road game mixed in there. They're going to Buffalo, who's currently starting the season 2-4, sitting 6th in the Atlantic Division, and they are, wouldn't you know it, struggling, Scotty. So when it comes to a game preview against the Buffalo Sabres, I mean, what's going to be the determining factor here?
You know, I really think this is an opportunity for the Wings to improve on said finishing and, you know, maybe high volume goal scoring. Assuming that they continue on the path that they have been on, which is getting a lot of opportunities and having the advantage on 5-on-5. You really think that a team like Buffalo is an area where you can take advantage of that, just because they do have some high-powered players offensively. There's multiple on the blue line, to be honest with you. Obviously, you have Tage Thompson. Like they have players that can produce points and produce points quickly and in volume. The flip side of that is their defenders are more there to try to produce points and not as much to be great defenders. So, like, I really think that this is an opportunity for the Wings to, again, not only continue having those shot opportunities and goal-scoring opportunities, but actually taking advantage of a higher percentage of them against a team that, for, years now, has struggled defensively and in net. And hopefully that continues in this game. But, yeah, I think the bigger storyline is how the Wings do against the Sabres offense and how that style of play that they have implemented is if it's capable of continuing to keep goals off the board, because they should. Now they'll lose 1-0, but like then they should have an opportunity to score.
Yeah, and I wonder too if we see another goalie in this hockey game, because Alex Lyon, I think, has made every single start for them so far. They have 2 other goalies under contract, obviously UPL and Colton Ellis. I'm curious what's going to happen here. Is UPL injured? I feel like, yes, UPL is on IR right now. He was put on IR literally
I didn't know he made
today.
it to IR. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Service,
he was reassigned to AHL Rochester for a conditioning assignment on Tuesday rather. So literally put down the conditioning assignment today as we record this. So, I mean, that's why Alex Lyons had to ride all the starts. And so they may be wearing him a little bit into the ground. And I wonder if you see that other goaltender in Colton Ellis in this game to give Lyon a break, or if they keep riding Alex Lyon and hoping to keep getting decent starts out of him. But I mean, regardless, this is a game that you should be expected to win. This is a team that I believe is below you in terms of caliber and quality. But at the same time, we have seen, as you pointed out, the offense of the Buffalo Sabres over the years just can pop off. And it popped off a few games ago against the Ottawa Senators, beat them 8-4 after not scoring like at all through the first few games of the season. So while this is a team I believe the Detroit Red Wings are better than, it's not a barn you can go in and just expect an easy win. Because also, they have a top 10 special teams in both power play and penalty kill. They also are like you.
Yeah.
Well, they're also like you, where they're decent at creating chances, but not great at finishing them. Their shot attempt share, I believe, right now, Scotty, is below average in the league. It's 17th, but their expected goal share is sitting at 13th, which is just below you, where you sit at 10th. So they're not producing a lot of chances, below average in creating them, but the chances they do create are pretty high danger. So this is a test for, I think, your defense as well, and just that offense that you bring, that heavy forecheck, to see if you can stifle the Buffalo Sabres. This isn't a team you can't afford to play down to. Any team on any given night. Like the Red Wings lost to both the Sharks and the Ducks last season. This is, in the NHL, you should never go into a barn expecting a win. And while I think the Red Wings are above the Buffalo Sabres, I don't think that you can just write them off. We've seen a lot of Red Wings teams in years past.
It's an offense.
Right.
It's a talented offense. I should like that. There is still a lot of talent on the offensive side of the puck, and I mean, you and I have both said it now. I think this is a test for the defense, and hopefully the offense can take advantage of the opportunities they create. And if they do both of those things, then you're talking about a big win.
100%. Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, recapping the Buffalo Sabres game. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.